So yeah, we're kind of just wrapping things up from semifinals. Yeah, I mean, it's been a long week. I think looking back, getting there Sunday was probably a little too early.
But that was new. That was an
It was
experiment.
new. It was new, and I can't really remember why we made that decision.
Economy.
Was it economy?
Economics.
Economics,
Simple
I guess.
economics.
Simple economics. So I think next time we'll maybe be willing to spend a little bit more money to
Fly midweek.
Yeah, fly midweek and just be there a shorter distance or a shorter time before the event. Yeah, I think we'll kind of revert back to that. That's kind of worked better in the past. In saying that, like I getting early had its advantages too of allowing us to kind of get settled and get food and get comfortable with the gym that we were training at.
I mean, I personally didn't complain about it. I liked it. I don't like flying in just at the last moment and just trying to like figure everything out.
It definitely makes things more rushed when you're coming in kind of like the day or two before, but I think from an athlete perspective, it might be a little bit more advantageous to kind of be in your own space that you're comfortable with, sleep in your own bed. So again, like it may not have had any impact in some of the performances. It may have. Again, we'll have to kind of just reevaluate that. So yeah, it was what it was. I don't think personally I would want to have that much time unless like we were there like weeks and weeks before. But for an indoor competition, like you don't really need to be there that early. Like you don't need to acclimatize to the environment or something, right? Like if we were competing in the desert outside, then yeah, you'd probably want to be there for a while to get used to the weather and let your body get used to the heat and stuff. So, but yeah, so the weekend as a whole, again, it goes by really fast once it starts. It feels like it takes forever for it to start, but once it starts, it definitely goes by really quickly. And it's easy to kind of miss little details of things that kind of went on. So again, reviewing and recapping is always important in terms of that. This was like the first year that the Mammoth, I guess, crew or team has had 3 individual athletes competing at once. So Jack, Erica, and Emma. I think the dynamic was good, like having another athlete with us. We had a training camp a couple of weeks ago, which was new, having again another athlete there. But again, I think the dynamic was good. I think the personalities definitely balanced each other out, and it was a lot of fun to have again another person involved.
Jack, how did you like training with another new fresh body in the mix?
Fresh body in the mix.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I didn't really train with her because we only did a prep weekend. Oh, turkey.
Turkey?
We only did
Talking about turkeys, there's a few cooked turkeys this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, we only did a prep weekend. I think maybe this year.
Like this year coming?
Yeah, it would be good to train with some more people. I don't know, it just keeps things new, and some days it's like, depending on the piece I'm doing, and this is just speaking selfishly, depending on what I'm doing basically dictates if I want someone else to do it with me or not. A lot of times I prefer just to put on headphones and be by myself and do stuff. But yeah, depending on the workout and also like how I'm feeling, it's oftentimes nice. So I think Erica also likes having training partners, and sometimes she just has to do everything by herself. So I don't know, maybe she would like it as well. But yeah, I don't know, something to
reflect on.
I don't think it makes too big of a difference though for me, honestly. Yeah.
I think it's a fine line because like I don't know if it's advantageous to constantly like be doing the same thing or similar things with people. You know, in the off season, the training is like very individualized for the athletes to work on their weaknesses. And then as we get closer and closer to events, like, yes, we still need to make sure that we're working on specific things for that individual athlete, but a lot of the training becomes very similar, especially when you know what the workouts are, right? So like you're doing the similar workouts, and again, like these people are competitive by nature, so you put them in the same room doing the same thing, like even though you tell them to not, like the focus of this is not to compete, like there's always going to be, I think, that intrinsic drive to compete. And I think that's okay every once in a while, but I don't think it's sustainable for the long run for the vast majority of athletes. And again, it's definitely athlete dependent, but I think it's an easy way to like constantly just be comparing yourself. And then the mental side of things can lapse. Like if you're, again, like we're humans, we don't always have perfect days or weeks. But I feel like if you're feeling like you're constantly in competition with people you're training with, again, it doesn't necessarily set you up for success. So that's just my kind of view on it. And I don't think I've ever wanted to get into like for me, I've never looked at Mammoth as becoming a training camp. One, like we don't have a location that would support it. And two, just my view on things is that like I've never thought it was like the best way to develop elite athletes.
Yours is more of a tailored, attentive approach to individuals.
Yeah. And like I've always made my commitment has always been to Emma and Jack. Like we're a team. Like that was like I am their coach. Erica came in this year following the Mammoth Elite training program. And then it made sense. Like it made sense when we got, okay, like, hey, Erica's going to semis. Like, let's bring her into the fold and have her spend a little bit more time with us, kind of one-on-one as part of the group. And again, that dynamic was good. So yeah, but again, I don't foresee like, again, Mammoth becoming like a training camp style thing. So we'll see. Like I feel like the only way that that we would bring on like more individual athletes is if we hire, or if I hire coaches to actually be the coaches for those individual athletes, because my commitment is to Emma and Jack from an individual coaching perspective.
Right. Let's segue into a quick reflection on the performance of all three athletes and your thoughts.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess we'll just start with Emma. Emma does Emma things, right? Like she's touched on it in some of the interviews she had at semis this year, and there was, I think, a post that Snorri shared. And I'm not going to dive too much into it because it's not like 100%, well, it's not my place to say it, but like this was a tough year for Emma in the off season, just with some mental things that we had to work through. And there was definitely a point in time where I didn't know if like we would be competing this year. But I feel like we had the right approach to dealing with it, and ensuring that Emma had the support she needed to do the things that she felt she needed to do. So again, like it does kind of seem to be like a reoccurring thing in these young athletes, especially on the female side, and I'm sure it happens on the male side too, but maybe it's just a little bit more prevalent or a little bit more
Prone.
I don't want to say prone. I feel like it's just because of like the names that have been impacted by it. It's just been kind of brought more to the attention. But like again, mental struggles don't like they don't care what your gender is.
It's a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah, it is. It is a ton of pressure for these athletes. Like, you know, they're put into the spotlight, and they have, you know, these analysts who again are just doing their jobs, and like that's what they do, and you know, the community wants to know what's going on and like who's going to win and who's going to do that. But like the expectations, and as a young athlete, I think it's hard sometimes to separate your worth from your placement. And so again, there's just a lot there. And when Emma's ready to talk about it, I'm sure she'll talk about it, because I think she wants to make it like aware that, hey, like these are the things that athletes go through, and like there is, like you can get help and you can get through it. It's going to be a continual thing. So anyway, she had a great weekend. You know, the little things again are kind of the difference makers in a lot of workouts. You know, the one workout, the front squat one, I think she got 7th in. You know, we didn't really have a strategy on that one per se. It was more so like, hey, like, you know, Tia's gonna go, like, see what you can do, right? And I think just getting caught up in that race was maybe a bit impactful in her outcome in that workout. If we maybe had more of a strategic strategy, she would have improved her spot. But again, you don't know, and you know, let's test yourself, right? This is an opportunity to test. And then I think her other event, she finished 12th in, was that the handstand? The handstand one? Can't remember. She finished 12th in one of the events, but it was by like 5 spots were separated by like 1 second. And it's just like, again, little things, right? Like if you rode a half a second faster split, right? Like physically you're probably not going to really even notice that change, but you've just gained like 3 or 4 seconds over the course of that event. Right? So there's those little things that really make a difference on the leaderboard. And then the last event, just again, she was in that race at the end. It was just kind of crappy that she lost her grip as she stood up on that last lunge, and then had to go back, which ultimately cost her the 2nd place spot on the podium. But all in all, she got her ticket to the game, so that's good. You know, Jack, I felt coming in was poised to, you know, have a really good weekend. A lot of work had been done over the past year in terms of working on his weaknesses. And again, it's just with sport, it's kind of, in this sport, like with the way the season's structured, like you have one weekend to punch your ticket, and if you have an off day or an off couple days, like it's just too competitive, especially in the East, that it just makes it really difficult to climb back. So again, I don't think the first 2 days were really reflective of Jack's fitness level. I know he isn't happy about it, and like we'll spend time to kind of let things kind of calm down and then reevaluate what we're going to do for the rest of this year, and what we'll focus on in terms of training. You know, maybe look at Rogue or something like that as a good target. But a super strong 3rd day, right? Like, I think to be able to come back when the cards are really against you, and like, let's be honest, like the chances of climbing from where he was at the start of day 3 into a qualifying spot were very, very low. But to battle back and have 2 top 5 finishes and then a 12th in an event that was probably really dictated by the push that you get from the heat that you were in, was a really strong day. So again, to finish strong like that, I think was really good for him. And again, just to kind of keep the morale and the confidence up a little bit. And then yeah, Erica, again, super strong first day with the run and the clean and jerks, and then a pretty solid second day. You know, I talked to her a little bit on the morning of day 3, and I think the nerves and the realization that she was kind of in a spot to fight for a qualification was kind of adding up a little bit. So maybe some lapses or some anxiety-induced mishaps in some of the workouts. You know, again, it happens. Like with a new athlete in the individual field, there are lessons that have to be learned, and the thing is that they hurt to learn them. It's not like, you know, something that doesn't sting when it happens. And then kind of the way the last workout ended, like, it was tough, right? Like no one wants that to happen, especially on that stage. You know, she had to push it. The person she was fighting against was in the lane next to her, the lane over, and again, she went unbroken on the lunges. I think Erica was slightly ahead going into the lunges, so she had to take a shot, right? Like she had to stay, because one spot in that event would have made like a 1 point difference on the leaderboard between the two, and then like anyone who filtered in that in between them, and with a short workout like that, like again, 1 second, 2 seconds, like that could be 3 or 4 people. So you have to take a chance, and sometimes in sport, when you take a chance, it doesn't work in your favor. But all in all, I think like she had a really successful year. Obviously, it sucks when you don't achieve like the goal that you set out to get. But if she wants to continue in the sport, I think she does have a career, but that'll be kind of up to her to make that decision once she has some time to digest. So yeah, I guess now we'll just kind of get back home, have a week just to settle down and just kind of come back to earth, and then make some training plans for Emma in terms of Fort Worth and leading up to the games, and then you know, kind of digest with Jack and kind of figure out his plan, and then kind of reevaluate how we want to continue with kind of our programming offerings through Mammoth Training Methods. So again, we'll go from there and kind of figure things out. I think that's it. I think I'm good. Didn't crash, so that's good.